When my mother-in-law handed me a crusty old picture frame at my anniversary party wrapped in yesterday's newspaper, I knew she was testing me. But what I did next, it didn't just shock her, it changed everything about how this family saw me forever. Before we dive into this story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you're about to witness the most epic mother-in-law showdown you've ever heard. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this ends. Y'all, let me tell you about the day I finally had enough. The day I decided that being the better person wasn't working for me anymore. And honey, what happened next still gives me chills when I think about it. My name is Tanya and I've been married to my husband, Robert, for 5 years now. 5 whole years of trying to win over a woman who made it clear from day one that I wasn't good enough for her precious son. Now, I'm not saying I expected her to love me immediately. But Patricia made it her personal mission to remind me that I didn't belong in their family. It started small. You know how it always does. Little comments about my hair being too wild for family photos. Questions about whether I was sure I knew how to cook Robert's favorite meals the right way. That fake sweet smile when she'd say things like, "Oh, Tanya, that's interesting," whenever I shared an opinion. And don't even get me started on how she'd always find a reason to rearrange everything I did when she came to visit. Like my way of folding towels or organizing the kitchen wasn't up to her standards. Robert, bless his heart, would always say, "That's just how Mom is. She means well." But I knew better. I knew exactly what Patricia was doing. And it wasn't coming from a place of love or concern. It was coming from a place of control and maybe something else she wasn't ready to admit to herself. The thing is, I tried everything. I tried killing her with kindness. I tried finding common ground. I tried giving her space. I tried including her more. Nothing worked. If anything, my efforts seemed to make her more determined to put me in what she thought was my place. But this story isn't about all those years of bite-my-tongue moments. This story is about our 5th wedding anniversary party and the night everything changed. Robert and I, the party, had been planning this party for months. 5 years felt like a milestone worth celebrating, especially after everything we'd been through. I wanted it to be perfect. I spent weeks planning every detail. The menu, the decorations, the guest list. I ordered flowers from 3 different florists to get the arrangements just right. I even hired a caterer because I wanted to actually enjoy the party instead of being stuck in the kitchen all night. We invited about 30 people, family, close friends, some of Robert's colleagues. It was going to be elegant but warm, sophisticated but fun. Everything was falling into place beautifully. The day of the party, I was running around making sure everything was perfect. The house looked amazing. The food smelled incredible. And I had found this gorgeous dress that made me feel like a queen. I was actually excited, y'all. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the event where Patricia and I could finally find some common ground. Maybe she'd see how much effort I put into making her son happy. How much love I put into everything I did for this family. I should have known better. Guests started arriving around 6 and everything was going perfectly. People were laughing. The food was a hit, and Robert kept pulling me aside to tell me how amazing everything looked. His friends were complimenting the decorations. My family was mingling beautifully with his, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I belonged. Then Patricia walked in. Now Patricia walks in. She was supposed to be there at 6 like everyone else, but she showed up at 7:30, not because of traffic or an emergency, but because Patricia always had to make an entrance. She had to walk into a room full of people who were already having a good time without her so she could remind everyone that she was there now. And wasn't that what we were all really waiting for? She was dressed to the nines, of course, in this expensive-looking dress that probably cost more than I spent on the entire party. Her hair was perfect, her makeup was flawless, and she had this smile on her face that I knew all too well. It was her Showtime smile, the one she wore when she wanted everyone to see what a loving, devoted mother and grandmother she was. Robert went over to greet her and I watched as she kissed his cheek and made a big show of looking around the room. "Oh my," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Tanya, you've certainly tried very hard. She said it like I was a child who had attempted to bake a cake and only succeeded in making a mess. But I smiled and thanked her for coming. I was still trying to be the bigger person. You see, the evening continued and it was actually going well despite Patricia's little comments here and there. She managed to find something to critique about everything. The music was too loud, then too quiet. The food was too spicy, then too bland. But I was determined not to let her ruin our night. Then came time for the gifts. Now, this wasn't something we had planned or expected, but some of our friends had brought presents, and Robert's sister suggested we open them so everyone could see. It felt a little awkward to me, but Robert seemed excited, so I went along with it. We sat down in the living room with everyone gathered around, and one by one, we opened these beautiful, thoughtful gifts. Our friends had given us everything from a gorgeous vase to a weekend getaway voucher to this amazing photo album filled with pictures from our wedding day. Each gift came with a story, a memory, or a sweet message opening gifts about our relationship. I was genuinely touched by the thoughtfulness of our friends and family. These weren't expensive gifts. Most of our friends are working people just like us, but they were chosen with love and care. You could tell that people had put thought into what would make us happy. Then Patricia cleared her throat. "Well," she said, standing up with this dramatic flair, "I suppose it's my turn." She reached into this large bag she'd been carrying and pulled out something wrapped in newspaper. Not gift wrap, y'all. Newspaper. The Sunday comic section, to be specific. The room got quiet. Not the good kind of quiet where everyone's excited to see what's next, but the uncomfortable kind where everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. Patricia walked over to me with this package, and I swear she was enjoying every second of the awkwardness she was creating. "Tanya, dear," she said in that fake sweet voice of hers, "I brought you something special." I took the package from her hands and immediately I could tell whatever was inside was old. The newspaper was wrinkled like it had been sitting around for a while and there was this musty smell coming from it. But I smiled and said thank you because what else was I supposed to do? I unwrapped it slowly, very aware that everyone was watching. And when I finally got the newspaper off, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was a picture frame, an old, dusty, obviously used picture frame, the worst part that looked like it had been sitting in someone's garage for years. The metal was tarnished. There were water stains on the glass, and there was still a price tag from a thrift store stuck to the back, $2.50. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that there was still a picture in it. A picture of some random family that I'd never seen before in my life. The silence in that room was deafening. I could feel everyone staring, trying to process what they were seeing. I looked up at Patricia and she had this little smirk on her face like she was proud of herself. "I thought you could use this for one of your little photos," she said, emphasizing the word little, like my memories weren't worth much. "I found it while I was cleaning out my garage, and I thought, Patricia, Tanya might be able to make use of this, y'all." In that moment, I felt every single slight, every passive-aggressive comment, every dismissive look from the past 5 years come rushing back at once. This woman had just handed me literal garbage from her garage in front of 30 people at my anniversary party and acted like she was doing me a favor. I looked around the room and saw the shocked faces of our guests. I saw Robert's face turning red with embarrassment. I saw my own mother looking like she wanted to get up and say something. But most importantly, I saw Patricia's face and she was enjoying this. She was actually enjoying humiliating me in front of everyone we cared about. And that's when something inside me snapped, but not in the way you might think. I didn't get angry. I didn't start yelling or crying. Instead, this calm came over me and I knew exactly what I had to do. I stood up, still holding that nasty picture frame, and I smiled the biggest, most genuine smile I could manage. "Patricia," I said, "this is so thoughtful of you. You know what? This is perfect timing. Because I actually have a surprise gift for you, too." The confusion on her face was immediate. This wasn't part of her plan. She had expected me to be embarrassed, maybe hurt, definitely thrown off balance. She hadn't expected me to have a response ready. "Oh," she said, trying to maintain her composure. That's not necessary, dear. But I insist, I said, already heading toward the stairs. Everyone stay right here. I'll be right back. I went upstairs to our bedroom and opened my closet. Way in the back, I had a box of things that I'd been saving for exactly this kind of moment. Things that Patricia had borrowed over the years and never returned. Things she'd taken from our house during her visits and somehow forgot to give back. I pulled out the most expensive item in the box, a beautiful crystal vase that Patricia had borrowed for some event at her church about 8 months ago. She'd said she needed something elegant for the altar arrangements. And could she please borrow one of our vases? Of course, I said yes because that's what family does, right? Except she never brought it back. And when I asked Robert to mention it to her, he said she probably just forgot and it wasn't worth making a big deal over. But I remembered. I remembered everything. I wrapped that vase in beautiful gift wrap, the expensive kind, with a matching ribbon. I even found a gift bag and some tissue paper to make it look perfect. Then I took a deep breath and headed back downstairs. When I walked back into the living room, everyone was exactly where I'd left them. But the energy in the room had completely changed. People were whispering to each other, trying to figure out what was happening. Patricia was sitting in her chair looking uncomfortable for the first time all evening. Patricia, I said, walking over to her with this perfectly wrapped gift. I want you to have this. It's something very special that I think you'll recognize. She took the gift from me with obvious reluctance. She could tell by my tone that whatever was happening, she wasn't going to like it. She unwrapped it slowly, and when she pulled out that crystal vase, her face went completely white. I thought you might want this back, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Since you borrowed it from us 8 months ago, and it's been sitting in your dining room ever since. I figured if we're recycling gifts with love, this was perfect. The room was dead silent. Patricia was staring at that vase like it was going to bite her, and I could see her mind racing, trying to figure out how to get out of this situation, but I wasn't done. You know, I continued, this is so funny because I was just thinking about all the other things you've borrowed from us over the years. That cookbook you needed for your book club meeting. The one that's been on your kitchen counter for 6 months. And oh, the serving dishes from last Christmas that you said you'd wash and bring back. I turned to address the room now, not just Patricia. Isn't it wonderful how families share things, how we give and take and support each other? Patricia has been so generous with her borrowing over the years. I thought tonight would be the perfect time to return the favor. Patricia finally found her voice. Tanya, I think there's been some misunderstanding. Oh, no, I said, cutting her off with a smile. I don't think there's any misunderstanding at all. You brought me something from your garage that you didn't want anymore, wrapped in newspaper with someone else's family picture still in it. And I brought you something from your dining room that belongs to us, wrapped with love and care. I think we understand each other perfectly. The tension in that room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But for the first time in 5 years, it wasn't directed at me. Every eye in that room was on Patricia, and she knew it. Robert's sister was the first one to break. Mom, she said quietly, is that really Tanya's vice? Patricia opened her mouth to answer, but nothing came out. What could she say? The evidence was right there in her hands. Then Robert's cousin spoke up. Wait, Patricia, didn't you borrow my good casserole dish like 2 years ago? The one with the lid? I never got that back either. And that's when the floodgates opened. One by one, family members started sharing their own stories. Patricia had borrowed things from everyone, dishes, books, decorations, even jewelry, and somehow never quite managed to return them. It was like she had this whole system of taking things from people and then acting like it never happened. But the most powerful moment came when Robert finally spoke up. Mom, he said, and Robert speaks up, his voice was shaking. How could you do this? How could you embarrass my wife like this at our anniversary party? Patricia tried to turn on the waterworks then. I was just trying to be helpful, she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I thought she could use a nice frame and I didn't have anything else with me. You didn't have anything else with you, I repeated. But you had time to wrap garbage from your garage and newspaper and bring it to our anniversary party as a gift. The silence that followed was everything. Patricia realized that her usual tactics weren't going to work this time. She couldn't play the victim when everyone had just heard about all the things she'd borrowed and never returned. She couldn't act like she meant well when she'd obviously planned this humiliation. Finally, she stood up. "I think," she said stiffly, "that I should go." "I think you should apologize first," Robert said. "And I've never been more proud of my husband than I was in that moment." Patricia looked around the room at all the faces staring back at her. And for the first time since I'd known Patricia's apology her, she looked defeated. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, looking directly at me. "I'm sorry for the gift, and I'm sorry for taking your things and not bringing them back. It wasn't the most gracious apology in the world, but it was something. And more importantly, it was public." Everyone in that room had witnessed Patricia admitting that she'd been wrong. After she left, the party actually got better. People started talking about what had just happened, and I realized that everyone had noticed Patricia's behavior over the years, but nobody had known how to address it. By standing up for myself, I'd given everyone else permission to acknowledge what they'd been seeing all along. Robert's sister came up to me later that night and said, "I've been waiting 5 years for someone to do that." His cousin told me she'd always felt bad about how Patricia treated me, but didn't know how to say anything. Even my mother-in-law's friends admitted they'd seen her take things from people and never return them. The best part, though, was Robert. That night, after everyone had gone home, he sat me down and apologized for not standing up for me sooner. He said he'd always known his mother was difficult, but he hadn't realized how bad it had gotten until he saw it through everyone else's eyes. From that night forward, our relationship with Patricia changed completely. She started returning things she'd borrowed without being asked. She stopped making little comments about my appearance or my cooking. She started actually asking before she rearranged things in our house. But more than that, Robert started setting boundaries with her. He told her that if she couldn't treat me with respect, she wasn't welcome in our home. He stopped making a better relationship excuses for her behavior and started calling her out when she stepped out of line. It took one moment of me refusing to accept disrespect for everything to change. One moment of me deciding that being the bigger person didn't mean letting someone walk all over me. Now, I'm not saying everyone should handle their difficult in-laws the way I handle Patricia, but I'm saying that sometimes people will only treat you the way you allow them to treat you, and sometimes, the only way to stop someone from playing games with you is to let them see exactly how the game works. Patricia thought she was being clever when she handed me garbage wrapped in newspaper in front of our family and friends. She thought she could embarrass me, diminish me, remind me of what she believed was my place. But what she actually did, she handed me the perfect opportunity. Instead of reacting with anger, I responded with awareness. I let her behavior speak for itself. I held up a mirror, calmly, strategically, and allowed everyone in that room to see exactly what she had been doing all along. That moment changed everything. Funny enough, Patricia and I have a better relationship now than we ever did before. Not close, not warm, but respectful. She knows I won't tolerate nonsense. And I know she's capable of basic decency when she chooses to exercise it. Sometimes respect isn't given, it's established. Sometimes the only way to stop someone from testing you is to show them you're not afraid to fail their test. That night taught me something powerful. Standing up for yourself doesn't have to mean being cruel. It doesn't require shouting or revenge. It can mean being composed, being sharp, being strategic. It can mean letting someone's own actions reveal them. Patricia thought she was teaching me a lesson. Instead, she gave me the stage to show everyone exactly where I stand. And it's not beneath anyone. Oh, and I kept that picture frame. I placed a beautiful photo of Robert and me in it from our anniversary party. The one where we're both laughing, glowing, completely happy. Every time Patricia visits and sees it sitting on our mantel, I catch that subtle expression on her face. I think it reminds her of the night she realized she underestimated me. And honestly, that makes it the most valuable gift she ever gave me. If this story resonated with you, Like this video and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Have you ever dealt with a difficult mother-in-law or family member? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe. There's more real-life drama, lessons, and empowerment stories coming your way. Until next time, keep standing in your power.